Everybody, it is March 10, 2024. Hope you're all doing well. Phil Strange, Lindy London, Andrew Cruz. Phil Strange again. I just feel strange, Phil, so I just had to say your name twice. Willow, Silent Walk, hello. Killer Drums, hello. Sherry and T Lamb, thank you very much. Very much. Zero Infinity Live, Alicia DeMoss, Kenosis, and George. Yeah, I don't, George, wow. Okay, George. All right. Marty Lauderdale, thank you. Blues to Shores. And Marcel and Wonder Why, hello. Bluesman, Sunny Fournier, hello. Laura Larson, hi. Okay, so, Sith Trish, I believe that the problems that I'm having with the live stream is due to the very slow speed of this Verizon hotspot, and I can't pick up the speed. For the first week I didn't have any problem. Now I'm having a problem. So the speed has decreased a whole lot. They tell you you're going to be getting 10. That's the number for the upload speed, and that's really shitty upload speed. Now I'm down to 5. So for the person who wrote an email, I can't do anything with the resolution on OSB, not with the speed I have. I'm unfortunately stuck with this until I can until. So I'll just do what I can. That's all I can do. Flooding in Charleston, South Carolina. Homes and businesses. I can't play this because it's live Storms Media and I'll get a copyright strike. But yeah.
Oh.
A whole lot of flooding. Pushing cars out, businesses flooded, homes flooded. Just a wee bit of weather modification and voila, you've got destruction, right? You've got destruction. So I have a cat at the window. I have a cat out the window and he's meowing at something inside and I don't know what he's meowing at. Interesting. Look at this. Look at this. I did see on radar, I didn't see the supercells, but I did see quite a lot of rain in South Carolina. So, yeah. When we don't stop evil, we all get to pay the price. Because, you know what? It spreads. It spreads. Oh, and here.
As on the Gulf side, as we continue to follow the latest in a beached sperm whale, 70 feet long. We are getting aerials from our teams down there. You can see it here on live now from Fox. It is there, potentially on 70 feet long off the coast of Venice. The alive adult sperm whale confirmed to beach around 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. This according to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The city says the whale is on a sandbar about 50 yards from the Service Club Park. Certainly a very sad scene there as we're continuing to follow it. We also have a tweet from Sarah Sodi, the sheriff down there, assisting Venice Police Mote Marine Laboratory with a beached whale just off the coast of Venice. This happened around 7 a.m. and of course a couple hours later they were hearing information that it is still alive there. I do have some more video as well. Certainly a very sad scene. You can see the fin of this whale off of a sandbar some 50 yards out from this beach. As they say, a multi-agency team of Stranding Network partners, including the Mote Marine Laboratory, Florida Fish and Wildlife, Clearwater Marine Aquarium, the University of Florida, Sarasota Dolphin Project, responding in collaboration there with the city and the Sheriff's Department. Officials, they ask people to avoid the area to allow Mote staff to conduct their assessments. They're also talking about the rarity of this to happen as, of course, off the coast there in Florida, off the Panhandle on the Gulf side. You can see different boats on the water as well, kind of assisting with this. For more on this, let's take you out to some sound we had earlier today from a person within the Mote Marine Laboratory as they were giving an update on this very sad story out of Venice, Florida.
When did we find out that the whale was here?
We got a call early this morning, right around 8:30, that this animal was about 150 yards off the beach on a sandbar. Unfortunately, it is still alive. Right now, it's on another sandbar, and we're standing here, and then between the whale and us is a very deep trough. So that's why we're waiting to just until conditions become safe for us to work.
So far, what information do we know?
We know from the size and that it's likely an adult sperm whale, and it appears very thin, but that's all we can really tell at the moment.
How often is it that something like this happens?
It's very rare for us to have. I've been at Mote for almost 15 years and we've never had a sperm whale here. So they do occur off the Gulf, but for them to be at the beach is not common.
Is it possible to save?
Unfortunately, no. Not only it should be living far off the continental shelf, unfortunately it's close to shore and it is very skinny, so that tells us already that something's been pretty wrong with it for a while.
Yeah, something's been pretty wrong with it for a while, and whoever wrote about the detonations underwater, our military. Yeah, I posted years and years ago reports of the U.S. Navy with all of their experimenting in our oceans, and that they were doing everything they possibly could to avoid having any effect on sea life, ocean life. Really? You're blowing up the ocean. You don't think that's going to have an effect. And Mama Rages, it's good to see you. Thank you. So, great evil going on. And for those who hear that word and think, oh, religion, I guess it, broaden your mindset. We've got evil in the world. And you have the New Agers. Oh, there's no evil. Yeah, there's an awful lot of evil. When you look squarely at what is going on, when you look sharply and clearly, whoa, can you ever see it? So, what is this? Oklahoma man spots mysterious object in the sky. Mysterious.
Look at this. We look up and this white thing appeared in the sky. Everybody had their opinions on what it was.
Not a shooting star.
No, it's moving too slow for a shooting star.
Oh, wow.
That's a UFO.
Look, it's separating from itself.
No, those are sound waves.
Like Steve, we wanted to know what it was.
Yes!
So we caught up with OU aerospace professor Ken Carson. He was bowling with his senior league.
It looked like a normal ascent of a rocket with a booster separation staging. It's a new blast, if you will, of oxidized propellant coming off the separation of that first stage.
On March 4th, SpaceX had a launch from Cape Canaveral. That was at 6:56 Eastern Time, 5:56 Oklahoma time. Steve saw this at 7:29. Right now, we're facing west. You can see it here on my compass. And we're told the object was seen over there, just over those roofs. Now, I know what you're thinking. This was probably from SpaceX in Florida. But if that was the case, they would have seen it over here in the east. Wayne Harris Wyrick is a local astronomer.
If you look very carefully at that, there's kind of like two bright spots.
He has his own theories.
I looked at all the launches from SpaceX and other publicly announced launches. My best guess is Vandenberg Air Force Base launched some sort of secret military flight into to do whatever it is they do in orbit.
That's in
Yeah, you can pretty much think first. Military, what are they doing? Woman loses both feet after pushed by boyfriend onto the New York City subway tracks. I guess the National Guard, the state troopers, and the 1,000 more police in this subway system in New York City hasn't really worked.
Is all new at 6, and it's a disturbing one. A woman is in the hospital tonight fighting for her life. Police say her boyfriend pushed her onto the subway tracks in the financial district. Our Melissa Colorado is live at the Fulton Street station tonight. And Melissa, what are police telling you?
Well, Gilma, we've heard of random, unprovoked subway violence, but this is actually a case of domestic violence happening right here. Police telling us what started out as a shouting match between a couple ended with that boyfriend shoving his 29-year-old girlfriend onto the subway tracks right as a subway train was pulling in.
Oh my gosh, I'm praying for her.
When is it going to stop, you know? It's ridiculous.
Subway riders in shock upon hearing that a case of domestic violence spilled onto the subway tracks of the Fulton Street station this morning around 10:30. Police responded to the call that a boyfriend pushed his 29-year-old girlfriend over the platform edge as a Brooklyn-bound 3 train was pulling in. Police say the man ran away.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Is she, alive?
Power to the third rail was turned off as paramedics and police officers tried to pull the woman from under the train. Both of her feet were severed. She was rushed to Bellevue Hospital, where she remains in stable condition.
Where's all these National Guard that they said that they were going to come?
Alec.
Yeah. But do you think that the National Guard can actually stop a boyfriend from pushing his girlfriend onto the tracks? No, of course not. We've got a problem with people. We have a problem with people. The two-legged, a whole lot of them, are messed in the head. Hi, Taylor News. So, firm building U.S. facility confirms parent company's Chinese Communist Party ties? Wow. The president of a firm building a manufacturing facility near several Midwest military bases confirmed that his firm's China-based parent company employs the CCP members and was previously involved in a military program during a state committee hearing on Monday. Chinese parent company, a Nano USA Incorporated, or CNano, I don't know, which intends to build a facility in Kansas approximately 70 miles from Missouri's Whiteman Air Force Base. Well, that has to come down anyway. Whiteman? You're kidding. Okay. Employs dozens of CCP members and sold products to a Chinese university for its use in a Chinese military program. Well, they're all over. I'll post a link if you want more details. But, hello, Americans. These Chinese businesses, Chinese affiliated businesses, all have to get approval from the CCP. And then the Communist Party members come on over. This has been going on forever. Well, not forever, but for a very, very long time. Buying up the farms, building industry, manufacturing here. Well, hello? Okay. Oh, boy. It's just not going to happen. Americans are just not worthy of much anymore. So, gang members in Queens, New York, caught selling fake Social Security cards and fake IDs.
¿Cuánto te pasan los ID?
El social por el ID, los 80.
¿Cuánto?
80.
¿80 por los dos?
Sí, el social ID.
¿Y cuánto tiempo te demoras para hacerlo?
Una hora.
Oh. Él es de Canadá.
It's a social,
el green card. ¿Tienes cómo te ve?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, green.
A ver.
Yeah.
Boy, it's so easy to just come into our country, get the documentation that you need, and do whatever the hell you want. Biden child labor. That's quite right.
Migrant children in the U.S. are working in some of the most dangerous jobs in the country. What's more, private auditors assigned to root out unlawful labor practices often overlook child labor. Laura Barone Lopez has more.
A recent New York Times investigation found auditors failed to identify child migrants working at production warehouses used by some of America's most recognizable brands, including Skittles, McDonald's, and Gerber. In addition, the most common job for migrant children coming to the U.S. is also one of the most hazardous: roofing and construction, despite federal law prohibiting anyone under 18 from doing so. Hannah Dreier of the New York Times joins me now. Hannah, thanks so much for being here. You reviewed private audits conducted at 20 production facilities for well-known brands. What did those audits reveal about the use of illegal child labor?
So at all of these production facilities, there were children working usually the night shift with fake IDs, doing jobs that are totally off limits for minors. These are industrial jobs, working assembly lines, working with caustic chemicals at slaughterhouses. And despite the fact that there were private auditors sent explicitly to try to find out if these plants were using child labor, these kids were missed every single time.
How did the companies respond to your investigation that these children were missed repeatedly?
You know, I've been covering migrant child labor for the past almost 2 years now, and we have uncovered children working these kinds of jobs in all 50 states. And every time I've gone to the companies and said, you know, McDonald's, why were children making the pork in your sandwiches? Or Gerber, why were children working overnight on your baby food products? They say, well, that can't possibly have happened because we have auditors in place who are supposed to be catching this stuff. And what we found is really the system is set up in a way that it's not going to find children. Children work at night and the auditors come in the morning. Children work with fake IDs. The auditors are checking paperwork, not actually speaking with children. A 16-year-old was killed over the summer making chicken that goes in Chick-fil-A sandwiches. But he was working with an ID that said that he was in his 30s. So that's never going to get caught by the system.
The private auditing industry makes billions to root out bad labor practices. So you hinted at why these children sometimes fall through the cracks. Children that are cleaning crews for slaughterhouses, or they're working in meatpacking plants across the country. Are there disincentives for auditors to actually say that there are child laborers?
That's exactly right. I talked to dozens of these auditors, and they say that they essentially have this conflict of interest. The audits are paid for by the factories. And so auditors say when they come in and they find a lot of violations, they get in trouble with the factories and sometimes even with their own private auditing firms. I spoke to one auditor who was finding a lot of problems at factories, and his bosses sent him an email and they said, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel. And they're essentially saying, we want you to provide better customer service. And this auditor is trying to find actual problems and getting this pushback from.
And you know, A lot of these kids are forced into the labor because they have to pay back the cartel for trafficking them over the border. Trapped in it, they have the sponsors, the American sponsors, who are getting money from the government and cartel. And look at this. Yeah, read this. Customs and Border Patrol actually tweeted out this: U.S. immigration laws have not changed. It is against the law to cross the border between ports of entry. Look at this. Border Patrol ripping apart the razor wire or whatever that stuff is. Every time I've said razor wire, people go, it's not razor wire. Okay, whatever, please. But really? Okay, let the migrants in. In between ports of entry. Border Patrol. Oh. See, treason doesn't just come from the top, but it's filtered down into the system. Give somebody a paycheck, I'll commit treason. And I don't know if any of you caught this on my Never Lose Truth channel, but listen to this, please. Listen carefully.
As we prepare for even more arrivals, U.S. NORTHCOM and the U.S. Army are working to create additional capacity to support refugee relocation in the U.S., including temporary sites under assessment at Fort Bliss, Texas, and Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. There may be other sites identified if services are needed, additional capacity is needed. At this point, we're looking to establish 22,000 spaces. We can expand if we need to. As with the operation we've been supporting at Fort Lee, persons that come to these locations will have been pre-screened by the Department of Homeland Security to enter on condition of full immigration processing once they arrive.
Well, tonight, new alarm for...
As we prepare...
I'll put the link in should any of you want to circulate this to your fellow Americans who are so just... is it willful ignorance? Is it delusion? Is it, I don't want to know, I just want to be happy? Yeah, this gross self-centeredness that keeps people stuck in their little life in a little bubble. U.S. Army and U.S. NORTHCOM preparing camps for migrants on military bases. The obviousness that this is all intentional to destroy Americans. And, you know, in some of these articles I read, and they mention the great replacement theory, like they want to replace white people with brown people. Do you know how many Americans, regardless of their color, are getting destroyed? This isn't about white, brown. It's about Americans who have a psyche of freedom, even though we don't have much at all. Oh, you have freedom to go to the supermarket. And I have so much freedom because I can choose between 15,000 different types of cereal. Wow, that's not freedom. But how many black Chicagoans are dealing with getting screwed by the migrants that are coming in? All right, so yeah, we got to really sharpen our senses, our views, our brain power, and look clearly at what is going on. All Americans are getting destroyed, all of them, for the non-citizen.
All right, well, we keep hearing all the data that says a vast majority of illegal immigrants in our country never commit crimes, but there are certainly exceptions. This is shocking new video obtained exclusively by News Nation showing the moment an illegal immigrant used a sledgehammer to smash into a Texas rancher's home. Border Patrol quickly arrested the suspect, but sheriffs along the border tell News Nation crimes like this are becoming all too common. Now, this, of course, comes after President Biden's fiery State of the Union address last night. He talked about the crisis at the border and also called on Congress to pass a bipartisan bill to fix it. So with that, let's go straight to News Nation's Allie Bradley, live in Del Rio, Texas, for us tonight. Now, Allie, terrifying moment there, caught on camera. We just showed part of it. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, what's even more shocking there is this is one of the only times on record that they've actually been able to apprehend the person responsible for committing those crimes. And Lon Ratley, he has lived along the Rio Grande for around 20 years. This is just outside of Langtree in Terrell County. Now, Lon Ratley, he gets an alert on his phone because he's away from his home. He looks down. There's a man walking around inside of his living room. Lon Ratley is a retired Air Force colonel, and he says that this situation that he kind of encountered here was really shocking to see. He was really frustrated, too, because he had no way of doing anything. So what he did here in this situation, this individual, he broke through one of the lower windows using a sledgehammer. You can kind of see the curtains move there, and then you can see that individual in the home. So he actually broke into that house, and then Border Patrol was luckily very close by. Now, this is very rare. This county is so vast, and it is not likely that Border Patrol would ever be nearby, but they were. They were at a ranch near the Ratley house, and it was about 20 minutes. They showed up, they walk around outside, they see the damage, then they go inside. That gentleman kind of puts his hands up. He's on the phone with someone, and what was interesting here, too, is Lon Ratley tells us that that individual from Mexico, he's in his 20s, he was apparently looking for a phone. He claimed that he saw a phone in that house, and that's why he was trying to get in there. Lon says there was no phone in that house. The individual himself had a cell phone and was on it talking with someone when Border Patrol arrived. So they are.
I don't think it much matters if you break into somebody's home because there's a phone that you see beyond the window. That's still breaking an entry. I saw a phone, so I took a sledgehammer. The crimes are really, they're increasing quite a lot from, oh, Biden got in trouble for saying illegal, an illegal immigrant. We call them undocumented. According to Mayorkas, of the head of the Department of Homeland Security, they're non-citizens. Denver fires workers to pay for migrants. Now, this is a replacement of the American people. It is not a replacement of white people. But that definitely keeps the division going. That piece of propaganda keeps the division going strong.
Laying off government employees in order to pay for the migrant crisis. When the mayor's office was questioned, Denver is now laying off government employees in order to pay for the migrant crisis. When the mayor's office was questioned, they said that some government employees, they're still there. Like, they're not fired per se, but their hours are reduced to zero. We don't really know when that number zero might go up to 40 or 50 again. Now, this is pretty crazy. Like, they don't call it a layoff, but it technically is. When all your hours get cut to zero, you're not making any money. And with 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, how are they supposed to pay for their next meal, send their kids to school, et cetera, et cetera? You know, you got a lot of government employees being laid off, guys. DMV guys are gone. Parks and Rec guys are gone. And you probably would start being seen like public facility guys be gone as well. A lot of these government employees are no longer working. No.
So this was off the piece that I included in a live, I think 2 nights ago. How they're not laying off people, they're only reducing their hours to 0. Okay. It's all for the migrants. And here. So, no borders, no America. Americans had better act soon, with or without Congress, and with or without the Border Patrol, to stop the current flood of illegal invaders across our southern border, because the Biden regime has no intention of ever stopping the invasion, to wait and ponder the crisis in the hopes that Donald Trump is going to be your savior. He can stop it if he wins the presidency, only ensures that millions more will cross, in addition to the 27 million that have already entered the country during Biden's presidency, those which were detained at the border and the gotaways, and intentionally or not, it makes America unsafe and sets in motion the great replacement. The replacement of white people. Bull, bull, bull. Please. Do you see the replacement? First of all, we have such a diverse population, okay? There are so many Americans who are getting screwed just because of this migrant issue. What's happening in New York? What's happening in Chicago? What's happening in LA? What's happening in California? What's happening in Georgia? What's happening? American citizens are going down. They're flushing us down the drain. One should recall that a 2018 study by both Yale and MIT suggested 22 million to possibly 40 million illegal aliens were already residing in America. Okay, so 2018, let's say it's 22 million. And I've heard and I've read up to 40 million. Okay. So from 2018 on, put in another 27, 28 million. And you've got illegal migrants with a whopping percentage of our population that is decreasing rather rapidly. So, Americans better act soon. Americans should have been acting yesterday. Are they going to act soon? Hell no. Hell no. And to Trump's discredit, that he didn't pursue the border security issue forcefully in 2017 when the Republicans held a majority in both houses of Congress. Oh, those Republicans. We don't have two parties. Republicans, Trump, they ain't your savior because they do nothing. They don't act batshit crazy, but they still do nothing. They're about themselves. Pad my pocket. War-mongering machine is Washington, D.C. Republican, Democrat. The division. Divide and conquer. And oh boy, are we going to see crazy Americans. The sooner it gets to selection day. Biden makes his re-election pitch. His re-election pitch. Listen to it.
Folks, we have come through pretty tough times. And I know we got a lot more to do. We had to stay off, we had to start off by vaccinating America. Trump stood flat-footed during that period of time before the pandemic.
Does it seem like a rerun to you? Insane. U.S. Navy repels large-scale Houthi attack of 15 suicide drones. Yay! USA, USA, USA. Blow them up. Yeah, the Houthis now designated as terrorists. Anybody who goes against the U.S. government, military, they're terrorists. Good for you, George. You came in to say, do you have a Facebook page where you take pictures and put them up of scrubbing your tub and shower with Ajax and the toilet and the bathroom sink, mop the floor, vacuum the living room, hallway? Wow. Yeah. Sorry. Gets a little much when you actually spend time to put this together, to organize the information, and that's what you get.
Israel has deliberately starved the people of Gaza. Starved. I'm not using an exaggeration. I'm talking literally starving a population. Israel is a criminal, is in nonstop war crime status now. I believe in genocidal status. And it is without shame, without remorse, without truth, without insight into what it's doing. But what it is doing is endangering Israel's fundamental security, because it is driving the world to believe that the Israeli state is not legitimate. This will stop when the United States stops providing the munitions to Israel. It will not stop by any self-control in Israel. There is none in this government. This is a murderous gang in government right now. These are zealots. They have some messianic vision of controlling all of today's Palestinian lands. They're not going to stop. They believe in ethnic cleansing or worse, depending on whatever is needed. And it is, again, the United States, which is the sole support, and it's our mumbling, bumbling president.
That's all you need to say, the mumbling, bumbling president. And I also think that they use this messianic, crap as an excuse. They just want the land. We're going, these religious zealots in government. What about the IDF? What about all of the young in the IDF that are posting videos laughing when they're killing people? It's not just the government. There's an awful lot. Unfortunately, just like Americans, awful lot who go along with all of the evil because they think they're going to get something out of it. It's sickening. And we could put a stop to it, but will we? No.
30,000 innocent civilians and counting.
So this is at Queens College in Queens, New York. Palestinians who, there were an awful lot of IDF, here, an IDF soldier chased off college campus. I will put the link in. Just going to play a few minutes of this. And I appreciate anybody who's speaking up and against all of the evil that is taking place. But it's not just Israel. It's America as well. Get that. You can't separate out Americans. And, many people are saying that this temporary base that the U.S. is building right off the coast of Gaza we're going to see boots on the ground, American soldiers, boots on the ground. They're already there. we'll see more. But again, nothing is temporary in our... This is our American psyche. Take what we want, fuck everybody else.
What do they have to show for it? 3 hostages, and they killed 5 of them. You guys don't give a shit about the hostages. We know what's been going on.
Return the hostages!
Whole lot of yelling going on. Did I put that link in? I don't know if I did. I'll put it. Here we go. Here we go. I made a mistake. I made a mistake moving here. I made a mistake. Shit. Shit. And here another big rally in London.
London is back on the streets for Palestine, but as the public continue to call for peace, members of Parliament are still not listening. The Scottish National Party, pushing for a ceasefire vote in the Commons, have now joined activists on the streets.
We are watching this in real time, and if people can't see now that a ceasefire is absolutely essential to bring this conflict, at least to start to bring this conflict to an end, then I don't know what they're watching.
And it's women leading this demonstration today, highlighting that it's Palestinian women that are the first victims of the onslaught in Gaza.
We know that women are being killed in extraordinary numbers, some because they're protecting their children. We also know that children, newborn children, are dying of malnutrition.
Free Palestine! Since October the 7th, more than 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza, 70% of them women and children. Despite the statistics, protesters in the capital calling for an end to the onslaught are branded extremists on, quote, hate marches by individuals in government. Are you an extremist?
We want peace, we want justice, we want democracy. In what sense is any of this extreme?
Anybody looking at these marches knows that they are comprised of people who care about other human beings, who want a more fair and just world. That's what they're here for.
The sustained level of protesting marks one of the biggest political movements the UK has ever seen.
And isn't it amazing that we have all of this going on? All of this going on. And we can't get anything stopped. We can't organize. We can't, I mean, when you think about the number of people who are suffering the evil that is taking place all over the world, these evil shitheads comprise a small number compared to the world's people, and we can't do anything about this. They have full control over everything that we do. Wow, man. That's pretty upsetting. Now, did you hear this hot mic moment for Biden at the State of Disunion? I'm not sure if you're going to hear it clearly, but he spoke to Bibi Netanyahu and said that he has to come to a Jesus meeting. He told a Zionist Jew to come to a Jesus meeting?
You were caught on a hot mic after your State of the Union address talking to Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Senator Michael Bennet saying, quote, I told him, Bibi, and don't repeat this, but you and I are going to have a come to Jesus meeting. What do you mean by that?
What I meant was, it's an expression used in the southern part of my state, meaning a serious meeting. And it was, I've known Bibi for 50 years, and he knew what I meant by it.
So what's the come to Jesus part? What tough love are you going to give to the Prime Minister?
What's happening is he has a right to defend Israel, a right to continue to pursue Hamas, but he must pay more attention to the innocent.
So fucking sick of listening. Well, he has a right to defend Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself. So do Palestinians. So does every country. Enough. We've heard it enough. But come to Jesus meeting, the guy who sends over $114 billion and sends over shipments of bombs with our U.S. politicians signing the bombs that are going to be dropped to kill Palestinians. Who could listen to this? This is how sick our country is. And anybody who can't face it squarely, you're about yourself. I just, wow, man. Yeah, he doesn't believe in Jesus, but you're going to say that to a Zionist Israeli. Does that not seem a little weird? We're just so flippant. And, oh my God, the lies, the abject psychopathy, you're looking at it. It should disgust and repulse everyone. But no, there's actually people who still, yeah, it's the president. You got to respect the president. No, you do not. No, you do not have to respect this creature, subhuman, narcissistic, psychopathic, evil to the bone. U.S. military airlifts embassy personnel from Haiti. When you see these reports out of Haiti, think, it's coming. It's coming to America.
As Haiti reels under a state of emergency, the U.S. military said on Sunday it had carried out an operation to airlift non-essential embassy personnel from the country, and it added U.S. forces to bolster embassy security. The move was the latest sign of Haiti's troubles as gang violence threatens to bring down the government and has led thousands to flee their homes. In a statement, the U.S. military said, "This airlift of personnel into and out of the embassy is consistent with our standard practice for embassy security augmentation worldwide, and no Haitians were on board the military aircraft." On Friday, Pentagon spokesperson Major General Patrick Ryder addressed this possibility and the potential for further involvement from the Department of Defense.
We're exploring contingency options to ensure the security of our personnel at the embassy. No decisions have been made at this time about potential deployments. I know there's been some press reports about a fleet anti-terrorism security team. What I can tell you is that DOD will not send troops to Haiti to support Haitian National Police security operations. We have no intention of intervening, and we are not providing assistance to help the Prime Minister return to Haiti at this time.
We did a great job in Haiti, didn't we? We did a great job. Haitians shot dead in the street, and there's no one to take the corpses away. Looks like Palestine. Looks like Gaza. U.S. military airlifts embassy personnel from Haiti. Yes, they are doing that. U.S. military deploys additional troops to embassy in Haiti.
We're following the breaking news out of Haiti, where the U.S. military has deployed additional troops to the embassy as the security situation worsens by the day. It comes amid a surge in violence by gangs calling for the resignation of the country's prime minister. NBC's Marissa Parra is tracking all those developments from Miami for us and joins us right now. So, Marissa, for people who aren't following what's happening in Haiti, can you get us up to speed on what's happened there, say, over this past week?
Hey, Alex, a quick summary for you, because this is really years of political violence coming to a boiling point over the last week. It was last Sunday that Haiti was under a state of emergency. This was supposed to be about 72 hours. This has now been extended for a full month until April 3rd. All of this after gangs were attacking the capital. They set free thousands of prisoners who were charged with violent crimes. And so now we have a situation where the UN says 5.5 million people, and that's almost half of the country's population, by the way, are now in need of humanitarian aid.
You think this isn't going to come? How about the new gang on the block, the Venezuelan gang, that apparently is even more vicious than MS-13. And that Venezuelan gang hooking up with the MS-13. Oh, things are going to get very pretty here. But Americans need to act soon. Pope Francis urges Ukraine to have courage of the white flag and negotiate end of war. But no, we're not going to go that way. Madness. West is conducting all-out militarization to defeat Russia. Serbian president warns. And the beat goes on. Sleazy Liz Cheney loses it after bombshell report claims she suppressed exonerating evidence with J6 committee. Okay, more evidence. A report it's linked to in this article. Americans don't care. Oh, maybe you do. I don't know you. Okay, Americans on the whole, which means the huge majority, don't care how corrupt their government is, what their military does. It's getting to me. It has always gotten to me, but it's really getting to me now. When everything becomes so obvious, the evil is right smack in our face every day. Oop, another person suffering the consequences. Oop, another person suffering the consequences. Oop, another four-legged suffering the consequences. Oop, the fish suffering the consequences. The whales suffering the consequences. War profiteer. That's the legacy of the Cheneys. She came unglued this weekend following a report by the Federalist Molly Hemingway, which accused Cheney and the January 6th committee of suppressing exonerating evidence of then Trump's push for 10,000 National Guard troops to protect the nation's capital. And do I need to do this again? Do I? Yes, this is exactly what she did. But she comes unglued and then strikes out with personal attacks and does not address the actual accusations and evidence. That's when you know that people are full of shit and just trying to protect themselves while they call other people bullshit. Hi, Mark. This is Liz Cheney's tweet. Hi, Mark. I see you're still spreading bullshit. You and the bozo who wrote this might want to actually read the January 6th report, appendix, Secretary of Defense Miller's transcript. Trump never ordered 10,000 troops, and she's lying. She's lying. And Judge Wallace found Kash Patel not a credible witness. Sleazy Cheney. Actual evidence. But hey, just say whatever the hell you want to say, because that's how we communicate and that's how we roll here in the good old American empire. ISIS is back and threatens to be deadlier than ever. Be scared. Be very scared. But I will say this. It's legitimate. There is an awful lot to be scared of. Call it ISIS, call it gangs, call it whatever you want. but it's coming. More and more people are going to experience the evil in a violent way. The Biden-Trump rerun. A nation craving change gets more of the same. We really should have demanded better. Maybe, and I'm part of this, okay? So, when I was in my bubble, being that liberal Democrat, yeah, I wish I had come to my senses much earlier in life. We can never get these people off the main stage. We voted for the lesser of the two evils. That was not a very good practice. That wasn't very good. I think we should have kind of sat down, had serious conversation about what was taking place in America decades and decades and decades ago. But we didn't. Because, well, we had the right to pursue happiness. Biden apologizes for saying illegal as Trump hosts Laken Riley's family at rally. So the Democrats all upset that he said illegal. Not so upset about Laken Riley losing her life in a very brutal manner from the illegal migrant. They're upset that Biden called him an illegal. Man, oh man. It's frightening. It really is frightening.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Was technically not supposed to be here.
Technically, he's not supposed to be here. But wait, I thought they were legal. If they're seeking asylum, they're legal. So technically, he's not supposed to be here. I think we're getting conflicting information that may confuse some. They shouldn't be confused, but I'm sure it will confuse some. California sending notices to people saying they are not registered with a qualified political party. Now, remember also when Biden, after he took the oath of office, which was, you could tell how serious he was, he very soon after that was asked a question by a reporter, which was really interesting because he was only president for about 5 minutes, asked whether or not he would be running in 2024, and part of his response was, we don't even know if there's going to be a Republican Party in 2024.
Wow. Okay, so I just got off the phone with the county regarding this for voting. So for the state of California, I received this, and it says, I am not registered with a qualified political party, and it's having me choose out of 3 different parties on this form to choose one and then send it back. American Independent Party, Democratic Party, and Libertarian Party. Where's the Republican Party? So I called the county, and I spoke with a very sweet gentleman. He stated that if you went to the DMV within the past few years and changed any kind of information and you did not fill out that portion correctly about registering to vote, then you have to re-register as a Republican to receive a ballot. I've been registered as a Republican since I was 18. And I get it. I have to fill out the forms if I change any information. But I just find that very odd that the Republican Party was not on this form for me to fill out. So I would check. I would make sure that you're registered as a Republican, if you're one. And yeah, I just find that super duper interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it is super duper interesting. And here, talk about a rerun, man. Wow, it just goes on and on. And where is it? Don't tell me. Oh, here it is. It's like we're just we're playing 2020 and 2016 over again. Can't Americans hear it?
So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was...
And there are people who actually thought that State of the Union address was brilliant. Can all of these people just be lying outright? Or are they hearing things and seeing things that we're not?
beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48-43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016, where we couldn't believe that it happened. The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor, because I can't see any good in him. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and they look like intelligent people around there, for some reason, it can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him. Take him at his word.
I did from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I said from the very beginning, this guy is never going to concede power, and he still hasn't.
No.
He still hasn't.
I can't listen to this crap. Trump is no more a monster than any of them in Washington, D.C. is. So, it is ridiculous to say that Trump, if Trump gets elected, that'll bring in a dictatorship, as if we don't have one? What are the redeemable qualities about Biden? Now, I don't like Trump, and I haven't, even prior to I didn't like him as a New Yorker. I couldn't stand him. He was just a conceited narcissist who always had to gobble up page 6 on the New York Post, and if you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. But always had to have his arm draped around some beautiful model. He was an attention. Just give me attention, and he fought like he was still in junior high school with people, and you would hear it on the radio, and it was like, go away. All right, so. And do I think Trump is any better than Biden? No. Operation Warp Speed, 5G. Talk about, he's a globalist. He's a corporate businessman. What did he do with 5G? He allowed stroke of the pen, allowed telecommunication industry to set up 5G cell towers anywhere they wanted, and talk about a constitutional republic that we do not have. Usurping the power of local government to say no. You don't get to say anything. Telecommunications industry, go at it. And there's so much more about Trump that it's very obvious. Oh, he's not such a sweet guy. So whether it's Trump or Biden, can you imagine? I can't. The dictatorship is already here. USA is gone and gone forever. How is it that people can't see that? How is it that people can't see that this rerun is a rerun? A rerun. A staged show put on for you to make you think that there are two parties. Oh, and I'm going to run out and vote because I want this guy to win. When they're selected, and we all know that. It was interesting, very interesting, to watch all of the awake people just immediately jump on the Trump wagon because he was speaking what they wanted to hear. But listening to them for years during the Obama administration and judging all of those people and calling them stupid, and he's just speaking what, these people want to hear, and they're not watching what he's doing. Hello, Republicans. Boom. You showed your real face. It's a show. Plus the fact that all of these awake Republicans, and it was a shock to see how many there were, all talking about how presidents are selected. Oh, but somehow Trump got into the White House because he was elected. All right, so I'll post a link to this. It's a Kim Iversen interview. That's important, for sure. It's, this doctor proved biowarfare has been done for decades. Now they're censoring her.
It's true, and confirm it. And then I wrote a paper about it and spoke at conferences about this.
So, I'm ignorant on it. I apparently am ignorant on what anthrax is. I was always under the impression that anthrax was like a chemical or something that was made in a lab, and then people would get mailers of anthrax if they were being...
All right, it jumped ahead. I'm just going to play the first few minutes.
But it had a very small minority white population of maybe 5%, and the rest were blacks, and it was an apartheid country, and the country was basically divided in half so that the less valuable properties were given over to black people to live in and farm in, and the other half was for white people and their properties, their farms, etc. During the 1960s, all the countries essentially that in Africa that were colonies got freedom. Mm-hmm. From Germany, from Portugal, from England, from Belgium, etc. And yet the whites declared independence of England, so England would not give its independence to the blacks, to the black majority. Mm-hmm. And so a 15-year kind of war of skirmishes began. And the first 10 years, not a lot happened, but in the later years of the 15, there was a lot of dirty war things going on with the whites using chemical and biological warfare agents against blacks. And eventually they came to a negotiated truce, and the black majority did get independence in 1980 or 81. But starting in 1978, there was an anthrax epidemic, which actually moved from place to place and stayed. And because of the nature of the country, because it had been divided in half, and half the areas were tribal trust lands where only Black people lived, the anthrax was spread only in those areas. And in my view, it was done as a form of low-intensity warfare and food control to reduce the wealth of the Blacks, so they couldn't fight and so they couldn't share food with those who were the soldiers. So anyway, this happened. Now, how do you...
This happened, and the same thing is happening here, right? Food control, poisonous, air, poisonous, water, poisonous. A whole lot of Americans, a whole lot of awake, are incapable of doing anything because of their physical health. And a whole lot of Americans will not share their food when it comes to, oh, look at what we've got here. And here again, she's talking about the World Health Organization's pandemic treaty that's coming up in May, about 6 weeks.
There's going to be a vote. Tell us about what are they voting on, and what's the danger of what they're voting on?
So there's an existing document called the International Health Regulations, which has very limited effects. It's mostly about what happens on ships if they come from one country and dock in another country and people wind up sick in country number 2. But they're from country number 1, what do you do? So that's called International Health Regulations. What's happened is that countries were encouraged initially by the US and by the WHO and by the WHO stakeholders like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who pay for 85% of the WHO budget, were encouraged to amend that document and make it a pandemic treaty, a pandemic preparedness document. So it is being massively amended and expanded, and that's all being done in secret. We have not seen anything except the first draft from 15 months ago, and it's going to be voted on at the end of May. Then in addition, a decision was made to create a new document called a pandemic treaty, and now it's called a pandemic agreement, which talks about the financing of this operation, the need to clamp down. All nations will have to censor their citizens to find out if they're spreading misinformation or disinformation about health, and they will be forced to censor them as well as perform surveillance. Every nation will be required to have laws in place so that they can roll out vaccines without a license and without any liability. Countries will have to share these, what they call potential pandemic pathogens, also known as biological warfare agents, with the WHO. And if a pharmaceutical company finds they can make a drug or vaccine from the specimen, then the company that provided it will get some financial benefits.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. We're so much is going on, and I'd say that yeah, it's all coming to us. All right. So why? Why is it coming to us? Yeah. Scientists discovered toxic microplastic plastics in every human placenta tested in studies. So, and these microplastics known to trigger asthma, damage the liver, cause cancer, and impair reproductive function. Whole lot of women cannot get pregnant anymore. Yeah. And they're passing on the toxicity in their body through the placenta to the babies that they have. Will any of these babies be born healthy? Americans don't care as much about work, and it isn't just Gen Z. In this article, it seems that there's an awful lot of jobs out there, but Americans just don't want them. They don't want money anymore. Really. Blame it largely on the pandemic, which weakened the hold the workplace held on people's psyches. Paycheck has a hold on people's psyches. So why? They just don't have the same work desire anymore. Well, a whole lot realize I keep working, but I keep going down and down, down. I keep getting closer to the financial edge, and I keep working. I'll get another job, but I'm getting closer to the financial edge again. But I don't think people are just giving up work. But yes, of course, the economy is just fine. Fewer employers put education requirements in job postings this year. Job openings that require formal education credentials are gradually disappearing. Why? Because a whole lot of the jobs that are left are service. They're in the service industry. We will have a hard landing at some point, I guarantee you that. Ellen Zentner is Morgan Stanley's chief U.S. economist. During an interview with CNBC, she warned that the tightening impacts from monetary policy will have enormous consequences for the U.S. economy in the months ahead. This is what she said. We will have a hard landing at some point. I guarantee you that. We're all wondering, when does that come? She said. The point that Diamond makes is that there are these cumulative impacts that build over time, and we are in the camp that we haven't yet seen all of the tightening impacts from monetary policy, referring to the Fed rate hikes, but it's coming, and a whole lot believe that it's coming soon. Little one. Pharmacists call for action after thousands of paracetamol poisoning, hospital admissions in Scotland, 200 deaths, thousands of hospital admissions over the last 5 years, and they're claiming that people are intentionally poisoning themselves with this painkiller. They're intentionally poisoning themselves. So you have an awful lot of people who are very suicidal and have been over the past 5 years. That doesn't sound right to me. Though there's an awful lot to be suicidal about. But apparently there's a TikTok paracetamol hospital challenge in which young people attempt to get themselves admitted to hospital by taking too much of the painkiller. That's the challenge? That's what young people are doing? Let me take this pharmaceutical, and hopefully I won't die, but the challenge is I get admitted to the hospital. Seems that there's something very wrong with our societies. So I wish this was a little bit deeper, this article. A low trust society is an impoverished society. We're gone, we're dead. It's just dancing on the Titanic. It's not exactly news that social trust has declined significantly in the United States. Surveys find that public trust in institutions and the professional class that dominate these institutions has cratered. Social trust. Trust in one another. Trust in institutions, obviously. is essential. It is essential for everything good in society. Yeah. And when you lie about people, be very careful, especially now, because you could help them end their life. This is not a joke. I sure wish I could sense more people taking it seriously. Social trust, our confidence that other people are trustworthy, has also fallen to multi-decade lows. This was not the case in decades past. Americans maintained high levels of trust in their institutions, government, and fellow citizens. The decline in social trust is across the entire spectrum. Our trust in institutions, professional elites, and our fellow Americans has declined precipitously. The causes of this decay of social trust can be debated endlessly. But what causes it? Lying, scamming, all about yourself, don't care about others. Institutions forfeited the trust of the citizenry by withholding and editing realities to serve the interests of hidden agendas and insiders' careers. Yeah, all about themselves. The managerial and professional elites at the top of the nation's institutions no longer put the citizenry's interests above their own. The public's trust has eroded as institutions are primarily viewed as vehicles for self-enrichment, career advancement, greed, self-centeredness, up the wazoo. The shift from a high-trust society to a low-trust society is consequential economically, politically, and socially. Low-trust societies have stagnant economies, as nobody trusts anyone they don't know personally or through personally trusted networks, and nobody trusts institutions to function effectively or fulfill their stated mission to serve the public good. Faced with incompetent, unaccountable, corrupt bureaucracies and a culture overflowing with scams, frauds, imposters, and get-rich-quick schemes, people give up and drop out. Rather than start a business and accept all the risks, just get dumped on or ripped off, they don't even try to start a business. Given the financial insecurity that is now the norm, they decide not to get married or have children. Tightly bound, personal trusted networks work well as long as the state institutions that bind the entire economy are trusted as fair and reliable. Not perfect, of course, but efficient and good enough. But when public institutions are viewed as unfair, unreliable, corrupt, or incompetent, the entire economy decays. And guess what? Public institutions is kind of abstract. What makes up the public institutions? People. Your fellow Americans. These dogs barking. Man, wow. I don't know if you can hear them, but this is all day, all night, early morning. Didn't know this until I got here, but there's a kennel behind this house. A kennel. When you're stressed already and you need peace, it affects your concentration a bit. The sole remaining reservoirs of trust in American life are personal networks, local enterprises, local institutions. And you know what? Where's the trust? In those smaller, local, your personal, your social network. Where is it? It's been shit on by an awful lot of shitty people. These are not guaranteed, of course, in many locales. Even these reservoirs have been drained. I trust big tech, big pharma, big healthcare, big finance to rip me off, profiteer, send me obfuscating bills, jack up junk fees, make it impossible to contact them, and send me to digital Siberia if I complain. The divide between the elites and the commoners should prompt us to examine the low trust path we're sliding down. Oh, I think we're pretty much at the bottom. In a society in which everything is phony, low quality or fraudulent, you're taking a chance trusting anyone you don't know personally. And hell, even then. And even that can be risky, now that self-aggrandizing flim-flam is the last remaining path to financial security for non-elites. A low-trust society is an impoverished society, economically stagnant, socially threadbare. That's where we are now. And the more fragmented, greedy, self-serving, desperate, and deranged we become, the lower the odds that we'll find the means to rebuild trust. I'm not the only one who sees it. Yeah, I'm not the only one. But when you suffer the consequences of the lying shitheads out there that literally don't care what they do to you, even doing things that could end your life, and you experience it over and over again, you get to see we are gone. We're gone. Would I do another in-depth video covering narcissism? God, there's so many people who are really good now posting videos about narcissism. There's narcissism and then there's malignant narcissism, and I will tell you the malignant narcissists are the evil that should repulse everybody, and we've got an awful lot of them in Washington, D.C. I know it well because I grew up with it, and it destroyed my life. It's not good. But nobody seems to, either see it or, we've got so much narcissism. That's not the malignant kind, but the narcissism, the self-centeredness of the American population on the whole. If you can't see it and you get personally affected by my saying that, look in the mirror. It's obvious. Yes, we actually do have an interplay. The people, the elite. The people, government. The people, military. You can't separate yourself from it. And I know that a lot of people have this idea, we're not of this world. Really? Okay. Then how come I'm seeing you leave a comment like that on social media? Because I think you're of this world. I don't know what to do with those kinds of, thoughts. You're not of this world, so you're living in a cave. You've completely separated yourself from the satanic system that we've got here. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You're still operating in this world. And we were supposed to make this world better. Yeah. Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. Not when, most of the population are walking the low road. because those who do some work on themselves constantly have to fight getting sucked back down to the low road. It's hard. You walk alone, narrow road. Oh. Ponder. It's a narrow road. What does that mean? Ponder that. And this is what our ruling class has decided will be normal. Well, this is about what's going on, Israel, Palestinians. But it's true with virtually everything that we are facing now.
Our ruling class has decided will be normal. U.S. Airman Aaron Bushnell said the words, "This is what our ruling class has decided will be normal," before self-immolating in protest of the genocide in Gaza. That simple line has been reverberating through our collective consciousness ever since. It seems like every day now we're learning some horrible new fact about the U.S. centralized power alliance and the empire managers who carry out its malignant will for our world, because that's just what our rulers have decided will be the norm for our species going forward. Reports that Israel tortured UN workers to extract false testimony against Gaza's primary humanitarian aid agency. Images surfing of airstrikes on Gaza occurring at the same time and location as airdrops of aid. Gazan children beginning to drop dead from hunger in a deliberately engineered famine that is causing sweeping starvation at breakneck speed. The IDF kettling the population of Gaza further and further south with a horrifically destructive onslaught, and then setting up an attack on the enclave's densely packed southernmost point. Israeli demonstrators bringing cotton candy machines and bouncy castles to create a fun, family-friendly atmosphere for their blockades to stop aid trucks from getting into Gaza. The U.S. president waxing poetically about how heartbreaking all the death and destruction in Gaza is when he himself is directly responsible for that death and destruction. People in the world's most powerful nation being told they have to choose between two candidates who both support this genocide. A journalist locked away in a maximum security prison for factual reporting on the same empire which claims to support free speech and free press. The biosphere we depend on for survival being fed into a soulless, profit-generating death machine because everything on our planet has been turned into a commodity. The leaders of nuclear-armed states brandishing Armageddon weapons at each other because a few manipulators in Washington, D.C. and Virginia have decided that the U.S. must maintain global hegemony at all cost. A mind-controlled dystopia in which ordinary people are propagandized into accepting all this as perfectly fine. This is what our ruling class has decided will be normal. This madness will continue until we come together and resolutely decide the opposite.
Until we resolutely decide the opposite. But, yeah. I mean, it's become socially acceptable. The evil has become socially acceptable. When you don't do anything, you have accepted what it is you're not doing something about. Ooh, boy. So,
So they passed a law in California, and they're supposed to raise the minimum wage to $20. Except Panera Bread has a carve-out, meaning they don't have to abide by this law.
Oh, thank God.
And the reason is the guy who owns Panera Bread, or all these franchises, went to high school with the governor and is a big donor.
I like him. He's kind of, I'll be Bill Maher. I like him. He's kind of a criminal and a scumbag, and I think that's great. But when Trump does it...
Interesting, huh? Panera Bread gets an exception on the $20 Fast food wage. Newsom's friend. It should enrage everybody. Do you see how those in government make life very easy for their friends at the expense of the taxpayer and a whole lot of other people? Something wrong here? So AIs, I want to thank the subscriber who sent this along to me. But yeah, the unsustainability of water. All right, we've got an awful lot of water. Primary water source. All right, but that primary water source is actually being used to cool off these data centers. So AI's unsustainable water use, how tech giants contribute to global water shortages. About 2/3 of the world's population experiences severe water shortage for at least 1 month each year. By 2030, the situation is expected to worsen, with almost half of the world's population facing severe water shortages. ChatGPT drinks the equivalent of 500 milliliter bottles of water for a simple conversation of 20 to 50 questions and answers. That may not seem like much until you consider that Chatbot has more than 100 million active users, each of whom engage in multiple conversations. Not just Microsoft, Google is second to none. Its data centers in the US alone will consume 12.7 billion liters of fresh water for on-site cooling, about 90% of which will be potable water. The combined water footprint of US data center operations was estimated at 626 billion liters in 2014. Oh, wow. But hey, still point the finger at the ordinary person who takes a shower and washes their clothes. This was just a couple of days ago, March 1, 2024, The Atlantic. One scorching day this past September, I made the dangerous decision to try to circumnavigate some data centers. The ones I chose sit between a regional airport and some farm fields in Goodyear, Arizona, half an hour's drive west of downtown Phoenix. When my Uber pulled up beside the unmarked buildings, the temperature was 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Did you know that Phoenix is the hottest city in America? Arizona's pretty freaking hot. It was when I first arrived. Can't believe it was like 84 degrees. It's March. Talk about being displaced and here, there, and everywhere, and it's very disconcerting. I need my East Coast time, my Eastern Standard Time. That's how my brain has. I feel like it's ready to do its final collapse. But yeah, 84 degrees in March, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh right, I'm in Arizona. So yeah, the air crackled with a latent energy, and some kind of pulsating sound was emanating from the electric wires above my head, or maybe from the buildings themselves. With no shelter from the blinding sunlight, I began to lose my sense of what was real. Microsoft, ChatGPT, OpenAI. All right, I can't read any more of this because I am not a subscriber of The Atlantic, but the link is in the chat. And maybe you'll get the full article if you want it, but here, I just came across this video right after reading these articles.
It's horrifying to not have running water. You put everything you have into buying a place here. That dream of, I get to give my house to my kid when I pass away, ripped right out from under me. I'm a disabled vet. Can't afford to go anywhere. And the people that come into taking this from us, they're rich. They're really rich.
In Arizona, like most of the American West, water is running out.
Extreme drought that has invaded the state.
Worst in 1,200 years.
Historic water cuts to multiple states are now possible.
But even as water supplies are dwindling, some people have more access than others.
The amount of water that they're using is just unreal.
It's corrupt. It's just corrupt and another tactic of war.
I don't know how they have the heart to do it.
Across the country, battle lines are being drawn between rural communities and massive agricultural firms. And there's one community here in southern Arizona at the center of it all.
Yeah, they're cool to watch when they're flying around in their little formations or clouds. It's pretty cool. I've lived here about 10 years now. Thought it was a beautiful place. Good weather. Helped with my pain problems. Then it went south.
Vance Williams had hoped to live in Pierce, Arizona for the rest of his life. But in 2020, his well ran dry, leaving him without running water in his house for 6 months.
This is the water tank I had to buy. Once I realized how big the problem was, we were living on 5-gallon jugs of water before that.
How much does something like this cost?
That was, I believe, right around $3,000. Took every penny I had extra and some that I didn't. Some of it went on to credit cards.
For a long time, Pierce was a quiet town of family farms and people looking to retire surrounded by mountains. But 10 years ago, that started to change. A company from Minnesota bought a local dairy farm with big plans to transform the landscape.
They just kind of took off and got bigger and bigger.
The company is called Riverview, and since 2014, they've spent more than $160 million buying up land around Pierce. To understand just how much they've transformed the landscape, you have to see it from the sky. Riverview now owns 55,000 acres of land. They use it to grow alfalfa, enough to feed 150,000 cattle. And that requires a lot of water. Before Riverview came to town, the dairy farm here used about 61 million gallons of water per year. But by 2022, Riverview's massive operation was using more than 14 times that, roughly 900 million gallons. And it wasn't long before their neighbors started to feel the effects.
You know, when a parasite or a virus looks for a healthy host, that's what's going on here.
Tracy Page lives just over a mile from one of Riverview's alfalfa fields. Her well dried up last July.
What did it feel like to be going through something like that, having no water?
It's a horrible feeling. I don't do amusement park rides, but I would imagine that free fall is actually closest to what it feels like. Because it just feels like I have no safety net. I get that some of it's nature. I get I moved to the desert. I get it. But this state is mismanaged. They're allowing people with the most money to do whatever they want.
That's how we roll here in America. You got money, you can live. You don't? too fucking bad for you. Sorry for cursing so much today. I'm under a lot of stress. Las Vegas tiny home gets overwhelming demand for desperate renters.
Fox 5 is keeping you informed about the housing crisis across southern Nevada. Soaring rent has priced many people out. A Zillow report shows the average lease runs $1,745 a month. You would have to earn $70,000 a year to qualify for many rentals. Since 2020, nationwide rent is up now nearly 30%. From income and credit requirements to pricey move-in deposits, we keep reporting many renters are just priced out. A landlord built a tiny solution. It's a fully furnished tiny home with utilities, Wi-Fi, and a yard. All-inclusive rent is $950 a month. After he listed it, he was not prepared for the demand.
Well, this is it. Of course there's great demand. Of course. Bill would criminalize homeless people sleeping on state property.
Proposed law, some say, targets Oklahoma's homeless population is gaining traction.
The Republican-driven bill would criminalize anyone caught sleeping on state-owned land. News Force Capitol Bureau Chief Kaylee Olivas is live at the Capitol with the debate over this one. Kaylee?
Yeah, Kevin, Heather, that's right. Tents, bedding, or shelters wouldn't be allowed on any state-owned property. Now, if that person refuses to leave, they could be charged a $50 fine, or they'll spend up to 2 weeks in jail.
What we're saying here is that you've got someone that is in a position of unsafe behavior for not only them, but also the travelers around these highways and underpasses.
State-owned land and homeless people, a hot topic in the Senate Tuesday morning. Republican Senator Darrell Weaver says homeless people sleeping on state-owned land poses a safety threat, so he's working to make it illegal.
Where would these people be allowed to go if this is where they're sleeping? Where are they supposed to go when law enforcement makes them leave?
They could literally go across the street off of state property, because that's not what I'm concerned about as a state legislature.
When we talk about moving someone across the street, that is still in our community.
That's going to make him so much safer. And oh, well, we need to protect the government officials. Did you hear anything about the homeless crisis in this country during the state of the disunion? No. Did you hear anything about Americans struggling? Did you hear anything about Americans struggling financially? No. But yeah, just move them across the street. Okay, that's going to make you a lot safer. I might be homeless soon. I'm just going to play a few minutes of this. I will post the link. She's in Australia, but oh wow, there are so many videos, a whole lot of videos, people talking about going homeless, tips on what you can do when you become homeless. There's a lot of channels on tips for the homeless. I'm only going to play a few minutes, and I might come back to this sometime tomorrow. Maybe not for the live stream at 5, but we have a real problem, and when you suffer this, man, does it hurt. Man, is it scary. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Put on the armor of Jesus. Okay. Okay.
If you don't know me, my name is Morrigan. I live in Australia, specifically in Queensland, and no, the title of this video was not clickbait at all. It's legit. In a couple weeks' time, I might be homeless. So sorry about the way I look. It's been a pretty rough day, and I'm not in great condition. Yeah, so today while I was at work, I got a really, really charming email from my real estate agency saying that my lease wasn't going to be renewed. So I have now a couple weeks time to find myself another house to live in because I'm a renter. And normally that would be fine. I mean, I've lived in this house for years and it does feel like a home to me, but in normal circumstances, that would be an annoying email. That would be like, great, now I have to apply for another house and I have to arrange movers and I have to arrange a bond clean. But it would be manageable. It would be frustrating and annoying and unfortunate, but an otherwise entirely manageable situation. But like a lot of people know, we're in the middle of a housing crisis here in Australia, like a lot of other parts of the world. And we're in the middle of a rental crisis. And I have a couple weeks. So I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. So I've spent the last couple hours doing a bunch of Googling about what houses are available on the market. They're all just stupidly expensive given what they are and where they are. And some of them just really aren't even livable. Like, people should not be living there.
You know, I came across this, I clicked on it, I've never seen her before, and my hunch, she was crying because her eyes look puffy, and my hunch, she's terrified. Like a whole lot of people, terrified. You know, if the people banded together in our respective countries and demanded something to be done with the housing crisis. I mean, they have so many rules and regulations for private businesses that they want to destroy. Why can't they put up some rules and regulations like rental rate caps? Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that in a free market. Do we have a free market? No, we don't. There are so many things that our government can be doing that Americans could be doing. But instead, more and more people are being pushed off the cliff. And that's very unbelievably upsetting. You know, and there was a time years ago when, you know, if somebody went homeless, there was a chance that they could get back into. That chance, you better know somebody, you better have an awful lot of money. Well, if you had an awful lot of money, and if you knew someone, well, then you wouldn't be homeless. Yeah. So, whatever, right? Whatever. Anyway, thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Be safe out there. Bring your best self to life. Live honestly, speak honestly. Develop yourself as a trustworthy human being so that you can manifest something healthy in society. If you're not doing that, you ain't manifesting anything good. Yeah. And on that note, I say good night and good luck. See you tomorrow. Ciao, guys.